Okay, so there's lots of videos out there on the Kreg Pocket Jig system, but I just thought I'd add in my own 2 cents worth. Just got this a couple of days ago and actually built the workbench that you see here. It was really easy to do, and the plans on Kreg's the Kreg site was really easy to follow. So anyway, most of you probably know what pocket jigs are all about, and you've probably already done your research, but if you don't, this just happens to be one of the first videos that you're watching. When you're building stuff, when you're building like cabinets or furniture or whatever, essentially a lot of it just comes down to trying to join square pieces of wood together to make whatever it is you're making, whether it's a bookcase or some drawers or cabinets or whatever. And it's the joints that give you all the problems. I mean, that's where things can get kind of tough. So this system, I love it. It's really simple. I'm working on a medicine cabinet right now, and I'm building the box. It's going to be inset in the wall between the studs. So I'm building the box that will be reset. So here's a couple of pocket holes. Okay, I'll just go over real briefly how the system works. You've got this drill bit that you've probably already seen, and you've got the actual jig assembly here. So they've got these 2 slots, these grooves down the side, and you basically just put this drill bit right in, and there's these numbers that you can't see. On the Kreg video it shows that the numbers are white, but my pocket jig system, they're all really dark, but you can read them, like when you actually have it in front of you. It's not that hard to read. Anyway, you put it in, you loosen this collar up right here, and you just make it so that this bigger part of the bit lines up with the depth of the wood that you're using. And you also set the jig. There's marks on the side that tell you to set it. So in this case I'm using 5/8 is my setting. So the drill's set to 5/8 and the jig's set to 5/8. It's pretty simple. You don't have to mix and match measurements. And then all you do is just take your wood. I've actually marked it so that I know this is going to be my unseen side. And you just slap it in the jig. Maybe come around the other side here so you can see what we're doing. Get my drill bit back in. And one word of advice I'd give is, see a lot of people on the videos where they're starting like this, and they start drilling like as they're putting the drill, like even as they get in here they hit it on. I wouldn't recommend doing that, because this drill is sharp and you got metal on metal, so you can definitely damage the drill bit, and you can really ratchet up these guides. So what I do is, just seems common sense, I just slide it down. It's got a nice point to the drill so I can feel where it's made contact with the wood, and then at that point that's when you go ahead and just drill. And then one on the other side. So nice and simple. Pull it out. You've got your holes right where you want them. Just flip it over. And the other thing you'll notice is that, I mean, you can just pound the drill in there and try and get it done really fast. Like, come on, let's go, go, go. It's not a rush. I mean, when you're working with the pocket jig, think of if you were doing like mortise and tenon or dovetails or working with a router, you have to make multiple passes. So just take it easy with the drill, like just do a little at a time. And you'll save wear on the bit, and you'll save wear on the jig. So there we go. So that's all it is. And then when you're going to actually join this to another piece of wood, you're just going to clamp it and put the screws right in there, and you don't have to do anything to the other piece of wood other than just get it all lined up. Now I do use glue for any permanent joint. There's no reason not to if you're unless you're worried about the glue oozing out and ruining your finish. This stuff is all going to be painted, so it doesn't really matter. But that's basically it. So that's what all the hype is about. I'm not going to really worry about showing the clamping process, because there's tons of videos out there that show you how to use the different various clamps. Essentially all you're talking about is like this is one of the clamps for the flat joints that you can use, and it works really well. It comes with the kit. You can use other clamps, like, believe it or not, we have this really great big honking one under here that people think is kind of funny, but is really useful. I mean, if you're building a cabinet, you know, you can stretch this thing way out and clamp a couple of pieces of wood together. And so you're just going to need clamps to, you know, the whole principle is there's no secret to it. You just got to line this thing up and clamp it, and then you just put the screw in. Definitely, I'm using two different drills. I'm using a powered drill to, like one that's plugged in, to drill my holes, and then I'm using a cordless that has a torque setting on it to actually screw in the pocket holes. And you want to keep the torque setting. I actually use it at the lowest setting. It pulls the wood together, and then that's all you want. Once that wood comes together, you don't want to keep driving the bit in there, because you'll just strip it out and then your joint will really be kind of worthless. But what I wanted to show you was, here's the back side. This is basically the face frame of what's going to go on the medicine cabinet. So if you imagine this was our wall, it's not actually going on this wall, but if it was, you know, if the cabinet was built in, this is going to go on like this, and there's a door that I've already made that will sit in there and that will hinge open and stuff. But, you know, this looks kind of fancy, or at least I think it looks kind of fancy. I mean, we've got some nice routing stuff here. This is actually really, really simple to do, but I will say that if I was using like a doweling jig, which I bought, it'd be really hard to get this stuff straight. I mean, these joints are great. Like, when you run your hand over, it's smooth on all sides. Like, it's meets right up. That's what's impressed me so far about having the Kreg jig. There's things about it. It looks a little cheap. It doesn't feel cheap when you use it. It feels really solid. The case, I don't really like the case that much, because it's just a really cheap plastic case, and it's just a box. Everything's just loose in there, just floundering around. I have a Bosch router that I bought, and the case is great. I mean, there's places for your router bits, and everything fits and is held in place. So definitely the Kreg stuff, it has a little bit of that feel where it's, you know, that made in China and stuff, but the clamp is really, really solid. The wood feels really solid in there, and, you know, I have to go by the results. Like, this was a pretty, you know, this was a pretty complicated joint. We're joining 3 pieces of wood together, and it would be really tricky, but it was dead simple. I mean, we just put pocket holes going this way, pocket holes going this way. It's all been glued, and it came out really, really flush. Like, it's really right on the money. So that part of it, I'm really, really happy with. So yeah, if you're thinking of getting one, I'd highly recommend it. Probably if you're a more traditional woodworker guy, you'd probably want to have, you know, a different system that takes a lot longer. But if you're just like a hobby home builder, you're trying to build your own cabinets, get something better than the crap that you get at Home Depot or whatever, I totally would recommend a pocket jig, because it's going to allow you to do some pretty cool stuff and do it pretty easily.